Okay, welcome everybody to Perfect Interview. My name is Kit Frankenfield. I've worked at JCCC since 1999, and I have two very fun and important careers here at JCCC. For 40 hours a week, I work in the Career Development Center. Does anybody know where Career Development Center is? It's over on the second floor of the Student Center building on the left. Easy to find as students are going in to meet with their academic counselors. So I'm a career information specialist in the Career Development Center, and we help students discover their majors and make a choice on what they're going to major in. And quite a few of our students, credit students, are undecided. So potentially we could see thousands of students every semester if they would come and use our services. We also help students to perfect their resume, write and perfect their resume, and to get interview assistance. It's just a great place to go when you need it. You really need it, and if you don't need it so much, you may not go in there. But I'm really excited and want to welcome you, and I also want to welcome the people that are joining us remotely. And I know that this will be video captured, so you may be joining me quite a bit later than this day. But we're going to experiment and talk about a new program through our Career Development Center's website called Perfect Interview. And I guess before I start, I'd like you to, if there's something that you are particularly curious about, tell me what that is, and that way I can make sure that I can address those questions in the time that we have. Anybody have anything specific that you want to know, or how you might use this in your area? Just
maybe you can address it later. How would you use it in accounting and also business office technology?
okay, how we can use it in accounting, okay, and business office technology. Okay, great question. And I'd really like you to feel free and interrupt and ask questions. And what I'll try and do is repeat the question for others that will be viewing remotely. Anybody else? Yes?
How we can use it in pronunciation and speaking classes.
Okay. I think this would work beautifully for that too. Pronunciation and speaking?
Yes.
Okay. So these are for L2 learners or ESL. Second language students.
Second language students and any other speaking classes.
Okay. Pronunciation and speaking classes. Okay. Anybody
Well,
else?
the thing that my students are wanting to know more than anything else is what can they do that's going to set them apart or make it seem original, even, there's so many sites out there that kind of give some basics, but is there something that they can use to make their answers, to make their experience more original and memorable?
Okay, and so the question is how we might use this program to set our students apart in an interview situation, possibly make their answers original and set them maybe at the high list, the high end of the pile. So those are all really great questions, and I will definitely address those. But as we go, just feel free and interrupt. Yes?
Will this be available for students that, let's say, you didn't take a semester off or have got their associate's degree and are still learning?
And the question was, will this be available to students who take a semester off and are interviewing? Yes, actually anyone, not even just JCCC students, anyone in the community can have access to this. So if you know of anyone who needs interview practice, this is an absolutely fantastic tutoring advantage. And you know, on the other side, we have people that are in the business world that don't know how to conduct interviews. And so it can be used as a training device for middle-level managers, upper managers that will be interviewing themselves. So let's get started. It's very easy to use. You should have a handout, and if you are listening remotely, if you could contact me at kfrankenfield@jccc.edu, and that's the letter K, FRANKENFIELD @jccc.edu. I will make sure that I send over a couple of the handouts on using Perfect Interview. Okay? It's pretty easy to get to. We tell students that the best way to find the Career Development Center's website is from our homepage. Just go to the search box and type in the word career without an S. It seems like our domain names are sometimes long and complicated with numbers, and this is just easier. And the very first link will take us to the Career Development Center. And we're really proud of this. This is a new website that we've had up for over a year, and we think it's fairly user-friendly. But as you open the Career Development Center website, you'll find that the links are segregated by the services that we offer students, depending on what level they come in. The first part of deciding on a career, making a career decision or a job decision, is learning about yourself. Unless you know your values, your personality, your preferences, it's a difficult thing to decide on what you would like to do for the rest of your life. So we have a link for that. We have a link for investigating college majors, exploring different careers, and then the next level would be to get work experience, either a part-time job so that students can survive as they go to school, or to go to that bigger career for their world of work. Yes? We can. Students come in, the question was, do we help them get work experience and internships? Students come in expecting us to sometimes do that work for them. One of our staff members is Leanne Cunningham. She is the Employment and Internship Coordinator, and they can certainly get assistance from Leanne on internships and those companies that are not only locally but nationally. And we work with students quite often on securing jobs and finding the different avenues that are open to them for employment. The tab that I want to show you, other than services for employers and meeting our staff, is the Get Work Experience. So you'll find this as you follow the directions for Perfect Interview right here, that you would go to Get Work Experience on this homepage, okay? And we call this our interactive tool page. You'll notice at the top that we have a block for career spots interviews, job search videos. These are exciting 3-minute clips that are student-friendly. They're not just an older person in a suit talking to them about their resume or interviewing, but something that is really enjoyable for students to watch. And because it's short, you know, they know what they know in a short amount of time. And there is actually, as I click here, we have several on the interview. And since I have some time, I think what I will do is show you this one about interview mistakes, because you had mentioned the question about what can we do to get students to have an advantage. Well, there are quite a few interview mistakes, so this is just 3 minutes. I'm going to show you this, and you will be able to view these anytime. As I mentioned before, our website is open to anyone in the community as well as JCCC students. So let's see what this one is all about, the top 10 interview mistakes.
Don't come into the interview eating. Don't show your tattoos. And don't say, oh, and probably don't wear anything with cleavage.
The interview is the opportunity, of course, to sell yourself.
If the candidate makes the wrong impression or a poor impression within the first 3 minutes, they can eliminate themselves from consideration just like that.
I had to interview a lot to get my current job, so I probably went on about, I'd say 15 interviews at least.
Top 10 mistakes that we find that candidates make in interviews are as follows. First, arriving late. It can show disrespect for the client. It can show a lack of preparation or even a lack of interest in the position.
The next biggest pitfall that they can make is to be dressed inappropriately for the interview, to not be wearing a business suit.
Talking negatively about prior supervisors, teachers, professors, coaches is the third major mistake. Fourth is appearing disinterested or even arrogant during the interview. Those that have done very well in school or maybe have done very well in sports or theater, they get an inflated opinion of the value they're going to bring to the workplace.
A lot of times candidates will come in and not have done proper research on the position that they're interviewing for. In today's day and age, that's hard to do because there's so much information that's available on the internet. You should always review the company's website.
The sixth mistake made in interviewing typically involves not being prepared and being able to demonstrate the skill set that you have that individual would be valued in the workplace.
I recommend to any candidate that has the opportunity to do a mock interview in front of a video camera to do so.
Employers probably do appreciate if you actually think about what they're asking about, take a second, think about it, and come up with like a clear answer.
The seventh major mistake is, again, not doing the preparation required to come up with questions. Those questions should not involve how long is my lunch break. It should be meaty questions, for example, to ask, well, what might my typical day look like in my first year? The eighth major mistake is talking too much, not being focused in your responses to questions.
Talking too much can lead to giving away too much information, oftentimes personal, which isn't appropriate for the job interview.
The ninth major mistake is discussing compensation or salary too early in the interview before you've established your fit for the position and your qualifications.
An indication to your interviewer that you're not paying a lot of attention to the content of the job or even potentially the work that needs to be done, but you're paying more attention to the reward.
And the 10th major mistake is to follow properly after the interview.
Send a thank you note either via email or handwritten. I prefer handwritten to let them know that you remember specific instances from the interview and you appreciate their time.
Failure to do that may result in a prospective employer thinking that you've lost interest in the position.
For God's sakes, what? I don't know how you can say something like that.
This is often your one shot, so take it seriously.
Okay, there you have an example of career spots, and I'm going to hope that I don't goof and disconnect something here. But anyway, I don't know what you think, but I like the energy of these, and they move quickly, and it's easy in 3 minutes to get one little nugget of a point down. So what I want to do is show you how easy Perfect Interview is to use. We've gone into the career development website. We've clicked on Get Work Experience. I've showed you a little bit about the job search videos called Career Spots. And we're going to scroll down to Perfect interview. The more you practice interviewing, the more comfortable and prepared you will be doing interviews, the better you will do. Use the innovative online learning tool to help enhance your interviewing skills and give you an edge over your competition. So what we're going to do is just click on Perfect Interview. It gives you some information about how it works, and I won't take the time to read that, but for the viewers that are either watching real time or on the video afterwards, you can go to this website, click on instructions for using Perfect Interview, and you will have the same handout that I've just passed out to everyone here. Okay? The next link at the bottom is to create your account or log on to get started. It's an easy create your account procedure, much like anything on the web, where you would indicate what email address you would like to use and your username and password. That's really about all the information. So I'm going to, you had a question?
I have a question for you real quick.
Sure.
When you say the community, I'm an adjunct professor who teaches on the Missouri side. Is it available for Missouri or only campus? Do they actually screen?
Anybody can get on this worldwide.
Okay.
And you know what? I think I forgot to mention that I talked about that I had 2 jobs on campus. I didn't tell you the second one. I'm also an adjunct English professor. You reminded me of that when you used adjunct. So I teach 2 sections of composition in addition to that. But what I'm going to do is just log on. I don't know if you have a problem with this, but do you have a problem remembering all the different log-ons and that you have in your life? I wish there was a way to make that easier. I just have to write them down sometimes. So the user ID is typically your email address, and you would create, I just use a very simple password, and then you would click on log on, and no, I don't want it to remember this password unless I'm at home, and I always hate this, but we're unable to validate, so that means I did something incorrect. So let me try again. And I'll be really embarrassed if this doesn't let me get in. Okay, great. Now I have 3 options. I can start a new interview, I can review an interview that has been saved, or I can go to the Resource Center. What I'd like to do is show you part of a saved interview that we used in the Career Development Center as we were getting acquainted with this program. On top of this computer is a webcam. Most laptops now have their own, and they can be purchased quite cheaply. I think there's one called the Snowball that's in our bookstore. I haven't bought that, but it's actually a little ball, and it sits right on top of your monitor. But you have the ability to either record yourself with a webcam as the employer on the screen asks you questions, and then you can see how you responded, how many times you said or scratched your head or those things. And for some reason it's unpleasant for us to watch ourselves or hear ourselves, but it's a great thing to do even just by yourself as you're preparing for an interview. But what I'd like to do is show you a saved interview that we did as Renee Arnett is our director in the Career Development Center. She and I sat down and tried this out. So I will give you a little clip of our interview, if I can get it to work. Okay.
You've seen the list of required skills and qualifications for this position. Is there anything on this list that you can't do?
Okay, let me play that one more time because it was a little low.
You've seen the list of required skills and qualifications for this position. Is there anything on this list that you can't do?
Okay, and this is Renee's response.
Keeping up with technology is always a challenge, and I think I would just have to make sure that adequate online
Okay.
How does your previous experience
Okay, let me,
relate to this?
hold on, let me pause that. What's your question? This is a company called Perfect Interview, and they have hired, I don't know if they're actors or actually people that are in the business world doing interviews, but there are several interviewers that ask typical interview questions. In fact, the database is over 1,000 interview questions. Okay, so like from a whole range. What they aren't, though, are discipline specific. So if nursing students need to have nursing questions, we won't find that here. Or chefs, we won't find chef questions. But when you think about a typical interview, probably half of it are behavioral questions. Tell me about yourself. How would you handle certain situations that are general in nature? So if they need to practice up on discipline specific, like chef's questions and nursing questions, we can help by giving some of that information to them. But so we can, if we didn't get the question, we can have him ask again, and it's also just put on the screen, how does your previous experience relate to this position? Let's see, and if I was being silly here, I may stop it and go to the next one.
How does your previous experience relate to this position?
Oh, that's better. Working in education has provided me with a lot of exposure to the academic side of campus as well as the student services or learner engagement side of campus. So I would be very experienced and prepared to do what it takes to get the job done.
Okay, then it just automatically will go to the next question.
Why don't we start by you telling me a little bit about yourself?
One of the things that I think how I would describe myself is that I'm not only a thinker and a doer, so I always seek out resources to help bring out the best possible solution of a situation or the excellent qualities of my coworkers and the team. And then I'm ready to put the ideas to work and get the job done.
How did you find out about this position?
Well, you see, I was
Okay, I'll go to the next one. We had a little fun with it.
Resumes from people who are interested in this position. Tell me why we should select you.
Okay, if it's me, I'm going on.
Oh.
What do you bring to this job that is unique and would make us want to hire you?
Okay, why don't we stop there? You have to kind of have fun with it while you're going. But anyway, this can be valuable in that you can watch and see how you have reacted to an interview. You can watch yourself, and especially helpful if you can sit down with someone who has done interviewing, who has done hiring, and they might say that maybe that wasn't a great idea to answer it in that way. Okay? That's what a benefit to anyone who's using this is to go back and review how you've done. And you can do that as many times as you want. These video clips, however, are stored in the Perfect Interview server. So we haven't figured out how you might save those and use them in a different way. But you can email these to an instructor. So if you're using this in speech or business office technology, if you talk about interviewing, accounting, pronunciation and speaking, I think that would be really great because they could email their short little interview clip to you. You could see how they were doing, and whatever criteria you set up, then you could grade them on that and give them feedback. But what I'd like to show you now is starting a new interview. The first thing that the program, yes?
Interview and the instructor will see the answer?
Well, I will have the option in the end to email the link to my professor, who can then watch it and grade my pronunciation, grade my interview skills, back to here. Okay? Sure. We have several choices as we open this up. My level of experience. Okay, this ranges from a college undergraduate to a recent college graduate, less than 2 years of experience, 2 to 5, 5 to 10, or more than 10. So I'm going to ask my audience to make the decision. What would you like to see as far as questions? Okay, less than 2? Okay, and maybe we can go back and do a more difficult one. Okay, less than 2. Now we can select the type of position that's sought. Entry level, staff, supervisory, management, executive. Okay, entry level. And we're going to click continue. Now comes the fun. We can select the interview length. From short would be 7 to 10 questions, medium 10 to 15, and long 15 to 20. If you have several days and a real interview coming up, if it were me, I would be going for long and as many as possible so I could get some practice. But for our purposes here, I think we'll go for short so you can see how this works. And maybe then we can go back and do a short interview for an executive and just see the difference. Now we come to question categories. We can let Perfect Interview make the selections. So if you allow them, the company, the website, to make the selections, they'll be random according to that level. Okay, you won't have supervisory questions, but it'll be pertinent to those that would be experienced by an entry-level job, for example. Or if you've done that several times and you feel like you really need to practice talking about your education or previous work experience, you could click on I want to make the selections, and you could practice openers and closers, education and training, previous work experience, job performance, your accomplishments, your qualifications, company research, expectations and compensation, personal information, and your management skills. Okay, so then you can practice certain things, which I think is really great. Okay, so let's, for now, let Perfect Interview make the selections about our questions. And we're going to click Continue. Now, if you have your webcam set up and you've already tested it with the program, you do that initially. And we're going to do that initially for you, but we decided that it might be a little bit too much technology for videoing what's going on here. We can select, yes, I'm going to be using video capture. Or you can select no, and what this will do is you will have the opportunity to type your answers, or you can just listen to the questions and get some coaching experience. Okay? So we're,
excuse me. So they don't have to be videoed? They could just type or just, yeah.
yes, they could.
Because,
You're right.
Because some people will not have a camera. And
exactly.
A lot of the students would say, I can't afford to get a camera.
Now, you know what? I will tell you, she said that not everybody has a camera and maybe laptop attachment. Students can check out a laptop in the campus center on the 3rd floor of the Commons building. They can have it for several hours, go in one of their rooms. It's already set up for video capture, and they can sit and do this themselves. So, you know, that's now an option. They can't take it home with them, but they could get it set up and sit and use it on campus. But what we're going to do is just no, because I want to show you some of the things you could still use. Then we would select media type, Windows Media Video if you're using a PC. If you're using a Mac, you would probably select Flash Video. So we're just going to leave it with Windows Media Video. And we're going to click on the Next button, Continue. Now it's just asking you to review, are you sure this is what you want? Less than 2 years of experience, entry level, short interview length, no video capture, all that. Okay. If something you want to change, you could click the back button. So we're going to start the interview. Okay?
What comes to mind when you consider what you disliked about the last interview?
Okay. Let me replay or play.
What comes to mind when you consider what you disliked about the last interview?
Okay. Let's pretend this is our question. What might you say, knowing that you could say too much? He's asking for what did you dislike about your previous job?
My biggest complaint would be the lack of advancement possibilities.
Okay, lack of advancement. That's a great way to answer that. You have not said anything about I couldn't stand my boss and, you know, they may know each other. So you don't want to say anything too negative, but he's looking for something. So lack of advancement. That's a great way to answer. Anybody else? This is like a participatory section. So what might you say that was unpleasant maybe about your previous job that would still make you look good?
The amount of travel that you had to do.
Or it was an internship that ended.
Okay. And it could end just because the economy, it ended, you know, the company went under. Okay. I'm really excited about these pieces of information. If I click on reply, here is my window box that students can type their response. Okay, which I think would be really helpful because then they can print this off as they're preparing for their interview. They would read their response. Someone could go over it with them and say, well, I don't know that I would say that. What about this? Okay. We can view an example answer. And there are two different students.
Job has its good days and bad days, but I wouldn't say there's anything I disliked. I'm moving on because I'm looking for new challenges.
Okay. We might want to hear how someone else might answer that question, so we'll click it again.
My last position had its share of challenges, but that's not why I've decided to move on. I'm just looking for a new position to further my career.
Okay, so this gives the interviewee some options, and we tell students, don't copy down their answer. This is all about you being yourself and coming away in the best light. Interviewers know about this program, but you know, take some notes, write down the question, write down what you might say or take notes. Now this is the part that I really love, the coach button. And some questions, if they're very, very personal in nature, the coach really can't give you any advice because it's just a personal question. But we'll see if there's one on this one.
When answering this question, be sure to avoid speaking about your previous employer in negative terms. One way to respond would be to describe a situation such as a lack of employee parking that could not be directly attributed to the management of the organization.
Now, I find that interesting. I don't know that I would have thought to say I couldn't find a place to park, to give up a job in these times. But I think what she had to say about picking something that didn't put you in a negative light is really important. So maybe you can see, and I'm going to finish out a few more of the questions so that you can see how this works, is that if you're practicing interviewing, you get to get into the head of the interviewer. Why? What are they looking for in this? What kind of information? So I would be taking notes like crazy if I were in a situation where I am looking at an interview that's pending. Okay, I'd be taking notes about what they're looking for, maybe some suggestions from the example answers. If I were to have answered this question, so if my webcam is operational, when I click on reply, I will see my face on the screen, okay? And I would answer, then I could replay, I could view my response, still do example answers. The one thing that I will tell you is that if you go through the entire interview and you save it, like I showed you at the beginning, when you go back and look at it, these buttons are not available any longer. The example answer and the coach are gone. So during the replay. So the time for you to write down those answers and tips from the coach is when you go through it initially for the first time. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, first I've got to say, I just think this is fantastic.
It is really
I think
very cool.
So beneficial, and the fact that you've got somebody that's going out there to an interview and they are rookies or novices completely, I think it's fantastic. Now, you also said earlier that Perfect Interview has certain sections or certain aspects of it that can be specific to a group. So like, for example, if I had people going into the chef's program, can they buy a program that has particular things that are specific to their arena, or in the business field or whatever?
I am not sure if we can or not. That's a really good question. But
individually, if they could go out, could they seek that out? Is there such a thing existing?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And that is the one thing that's limiting, is that for those specific questions, we would be welcome to direct an individual, because a lot of those are available online, questions for really specific things. And we have some in the Career Development Center as well. So we're glad to share those. Okay, so now we have an idea of what the interviewer is looking for, 2 good responses, and so let's just go to the next one.
For reference.
Okay, may we contact your previous employer for a reference? So let's look at answers.
Contact my supervisor. I included her name and phone number as a reference when I completed your job application.
Okay, I don't think anybody's going to say no, don't contact them. But let's see what the young man says.
Sure, absolutely. You can contact the names listed as references.
Okay, short and sweet.
No one's going to, I mean, what if someone's seeking the job while they're working somewhere else? Then what are they going to?
We tell people in that situation, to be honest, they probably should tell their supervisor that they are interviewing for a potential position. If that is going to cause real problems in the workplace, then it kind of depends. You had
say something like, please do not contact my present employer unless I'm in the final interview, then I need to tell them that I am looking.
That's a great answer. Let me repeat that. She said, please don't contact my present employer unless I'm in the final stages of your selection process, and then I will have an opportunity to talk with my current supervisor. Because there are some supervisors that find out that you're interested in leaving and you don't get it, and you may have some problems later on. We tell students to be honest as possible. People understand that in the business world, but to not give information that is not asked for. People tend to give too much personal information. Like they wouldn't need to go into why that's the case. But that's a really good question. Okay, so let's see what the coach says.
You could have a perfectly
legitimate reason for declining this request. If you do, be sure to explain your reason to the interviewer. If you intend to respond with a yes, be sure to check with your previous employer before the interview.
Okay. I think that's a pretty good answer. Be honest. What is the coach? That's where what she just said. She explains.
You could have a perfectly legitimate reason for
Why?
declining this request. If you do, be sure to explain your reason to the interviewer. If you intend to respond with a yes.
Okay. Let's go to another one.
Tell me about your long-term career goals.
Ultimately, I hope to achieve a director level position or even begin my own company. In the immediate future, though, I hope to get more opportunities for increasing my hands-on experience.
Okay, that's one.
Well, in the near future, I hope to gain more experience with client interaction and overall project management. In the next few years, though, I hope to be leading team initiatives and eventually move up to a management position.
Okay, let's see what the coach is saying about this one.
Your response to this question should demonstrate to the interviewer that you do have some form of long-term career plan in place. You should also be prepared to explain how the position you're interviewing for fits into this plan.
Okay, I think this is really great information. We tell students, though, and especially cosmetology students will come in, or nursing students, they'll say, I have so much I could learn from this company. I know that you are the best at what you do, and the people that I would work with would be able to help me learn so much. We tell them that companies really don't care about how much you want to learn. The bottom line is them succeeding and making money. And that might very well be what a reason for working at a specific company, but they want to know what you're going to bring to the table, that you're prepared to work and to be successful. And so what you need to be able to do is to tell them, I'm ready to go, and I believe that my skills match what you're looking for, and that I have the ability to make your department or your company more successful. Do you want to hear one more? Yeah. Okay. Next question.
If we were to offer you this position, how long do you think you would stay with the company?
Okay.
That's a tough question.
Yeah, it is.
Especially for young kids.
I would expect to stay as long as I'm achieving, growing, and contributing meaningfully to the company.
I kind of like that answer.
I try not to go into new situations with preconceptions, but I am hoping for a long-term fit. I would stay as long as I knew I was able to make a valuable addition to the company staff.
Okay, let's see what Coach says.
Most employers prefer to hire individuals who stay with the company for an extended period of time. You don't need to commit yourself to a specific time frame, but your response should reassure the interviewer that you'll remain with the company for a reasonable period.
Okay, so if I were using this, I would be taking all kinds of notes, writing down questions, some information on example answers, and especially the coach section. What I wanted to do really quickly is to, we're going to exit. And we're not going to save this, but, okay. What I'd like to do is go back and try one that's a little bit higher level and just show you a couple. Let's make this more than 10 years of experience and executive, and see how these questions differ. We'll still select short, and would you like to see some specific questions, or do you want to have it?
Yeah, I'd like to see openers and closers.
Okay, let's do that.
Oh, we've got to have those 3 categories.
How about work experience?
Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay, so previous work experience.
Some of them might not have any.
Okay, and how about one more?
Company research.
Okay. So I will select 3 by, and it tells you to press the control key. Company research. Okay, and we'll go on and we'll go on for here.
What was the most stressful period you experienced in your previous position?
And, you know, it's great to hear these questions. Then you can, what if you didn't really have a stressful experience? It would give you some time at home maybe to think of something that would fit. So let's look at an example answer.
We had ordered a significant inventory just before the holidays and it hadn't arrived due to a labor dispute at the port of entry. The ads had already run and customers were clamoring at the doors, but there was no product to be had. We finally hired a local shipping firm to retrieve the goods and get them to the warehouse for local distribution.
Okay, let's see what Coach says.
You can use this question to show the interviewer how you successfully overcame a difficult challenge in your previous position. Your response should make it clear that you dealt effectively with the stress and achieved a successful outcome.
And in fact, she didn't even talk too much about the stress, which I thought was really excellent.
Tell me something about yourself that I won't find in your resume.
Okay.
I like to work in my garden when I can find the time. It's something that interests both my children and myself. It's a way that we can share quality time and we really enjoy the achievement of watching things grow.
Okay, and I'm not sure Coach will have anything to say.
This question can be an opportunity to share some aspect of your personal life that adds to the positive picture you're painting for the interviewer. Topics for your response could include a hobby, a sport, or a volunteer activity.
But once again, you wouldn't want to go into a 10-minute diatribe of every hobby that you have. Let's do one more.
She also disclosed that she had a family.
Right. She had children, and right.
Do you
and
think you shouldn't? In some situations, I would say no. Might not.
If you're going to be doing a lot of traveling, for example, they might make that assumption, well, you know, she has children at home, that she may not want this position for that reason. Let's do one more.
What important trends do you see in this field?
That's a good question. What important trends do you see in this field?
I see the trend towards discounting as part of the initial sell-in strategy being very significant right now. I don't think that it's an appropriate strategy to pursue in all cases, but it is a serious development that has to be carefully watched.
I wonder if there's another example.
Clearly, technology has altered the process completely. By the time our reps make the follow-up call, the customer has a mountain of online research at his fingertips, but they may not understand it. So that puts us more in a consultative role. This gives us the opportunity to provide the total solution for the customer, rather than just selling them one piece of the puzzle.
Okay, and the coach.
This is an opportunity to demonstrate your knowledge of the field, which the interviewer will interpret as a sign of your interest in the position. Your answer to this question should be brief and focus on one or two specific trends.
Okay, do one last one.
How did you find out about this position?
I have a fairly extensive network of friends and professional acquaintances in this industry. I learned about this opening from one of my contacts.
Okay, short and sweet.
This position was brought to my attention by an executive recruiter that I'm currently working with.
And what coach says.
Your response to this question will reveal important information concerning how committed you are to your career. So your answer should demonstrate that you became aware of the position as a result of a serious effort to identify promising opportunities in the field.
One thing that we tell students, and since I'm a composition instructor, I believe that learning occurs during writing. And if I had a really, really important interview coming up, I'd probably start several weeks ahead of time if I could, or even practice now and then on a Saturday night when I don't really have anything to do. Because a lot of times we'll have a quick, not much notice for an interview and then we're scrambling. So to have an inside look into an interviewer's thought process and to know what they're looking for, and then I would customize my answer. I would write out things that I would want to remember, and then going, before I go into that interview setting, just reviewing those I think would be a big help. So you can also see that for students maybe in business who will be interviewing people someday, that this would be an excellent training tool for learning how to interview. And how many times have we interviewed and you find that you are more prepared than the interviewer? That you have to sometimes make the interviewer feel comfortable by your demeanor or being friendly. I've had that happen, that people are just not prepared. They're not that great at interviewing. So I can see a lot of different applications for this program. You can save anything and everything that you've gone through, making notes, but just remember that when you go back, these buttons right here are going to be gone. So the only thing that you would have to do is be able to look at your own response. So that's a good question. Let's see. Click on play to view the current interview question. Click on respond to answer. Click on next to advance. So pretty much just giving you the button and what it will do for you. But you could go in and select 20 questions and just have a heyday. But any other questions about how we might use this academically or?
I have a question. Once this is done, how would our students email it to us? Is there, when it's all done, is there a link that will tell us? So
if I save it, which I really didn't do anything, let's see, I can go to the Resource Center. And let me see if I can get back to my button where review saved interviews. Okay. And then review, resume. You could stop it in the middle by hitting the resume key. Share, and you would click on this share button. And that would allow the link to be emailed to whomever that needs it. Can you see some application in your particular area?
Absolutely, and I really think that the students, that hands-on experience that they're going to get is going to be incredibly beneficial. Now, is this a program that the college had to buy so that to offer?
Is it really expensive?
I wasn't in on that, I don't know, but the way that it came about is that we had so many requests for mock interviews in the Career Development Center that it just became too overwhelming. And we still will do a mock interview with any JCCC student, faculty even, but they have to have an interview coming up. Okay, and it used to be in some of the programs that they would require a mock interview, and we found that students, if they didn't have an interview, they did not come prepared. They didn't dress the part, and if you don't dress the part, you don't feel professional, and you tend to just kind of slop through it and not be aware of your body language. So if students do have a job interview coming up, we can do a mock interview where we record it, our questions, their responses. We can view part of that with them and say, do you realize here that you're scratching your head like about every other question? I had a young man who was like scratching the chair. He was just nervous and wasn't aware of that. And so we can point out those things while we're doing a mock interview, and then we condense it and send it as an email and encourage them to just watch it again. But I'm really excited about the potential of Perfect Interview for all of us. And you know, this may not be the last place we work, to be honest. We might have an opportunity to interview, and so I'm excited just to be able to keep up on what's happening. So I really appreciate you coming and spending an hour with me.